Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Ledwell and this is The Inspiration Show. Today on the show, I'm going to be talking with a dynamo of a woman who has had a really inspiring life, overcome quite a few challenges and been able to do things like create a new radio network. She's a best-selling author. She even was a promoter of world champion kickboxing. So she's had quite the journey. So I'm looking forward for her to share that with you today. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that if you are watching this on Facebook Live or on our YouTube channel after the show is over, that if you, after the show's finished, just click the link below this video so you can take the 30-second quiz so we can figure out what is holding you back from success and help you break through that. So please help me introduce my special guest today, Frankie Picasso. How are you, Frankie?
I'm wonderful, Natalie. You look so healthy.
I know, I'm on fire today. I had a really good sleep last night after only getting 3 hours sleep the night before. So I'm like, and just like jumping out of my skin. It's awesome. So how I alluded earlier to the fact that you've had quite the journey in your lifetime, but you've been able to accomplish so much. So let's start. I'll get you to take us through some of the highlights of things that have happened in your life that have helped you to become, the dynamo person that you are today.
I love it. Well, I think the very first thing I have to start with was my dad, because my dad was the motivating factor for me to believe, that I could do anything I wanted to do. I mean, how fantastic is that? Does somebody put that in your head? I can do anything I want. And it doesn't matter that you're a girl, even better. So I believed him. He never lied to me as far as I know. And so every time I wanted to do something, whether I had education for it or not, I said to myself, can you do this, Frankie? And I go, yep, I can do it. And I went ahead and I did it. And people will go, well, how could you do that? You didn't have the education for it. You didn't have, the background for it. I go, but in my head, I knew I could do it. So there you go. You alluded to me being the first female kickboxing promoter in the world and managing a 12-time champion. That was, very special. And I was working in the boxing industry, and Paul had come to me and said, would you guys take me on? And the guys I worked with were purist boxers, and they go, no. I go, take me to a show. Let me see what it's all about. Took me to a show. I loved it, fell in love. I go, yeah, I'll put on a world championship for you. And I did. And it was the first time I'd ever negotiated television, ESPN, and I wrote the scripts. I got all the fighters. I matched them all. I did the whole thing, everything, every little job I did by myself. And I went, wow, I can do that. And it was successful, and it was really good. And so that was, something that was very special to me. Right after that, I got a call from Solicitor General from the government of Ontario, and they said, hey, could you put on a showcase for us, a justice showcase? And I'm like, yeah, I can probably do that. And I went ahead and I did that too. And I ended up working for a public sector for about 7.5 years until a major motorcycle crash took me out. I was in the hospital for 6.5 months. And at that point, I lost everything that, I identified myself with. Husband, job, dragon boating. I was on the national dragon boat team. I was a drummer in a band, in a blues band. And everybody had just come, and, everything was taken away. And I was left in this hospital bed going, who am I? And, so often we identify ourselves by all the things we have, but rarely do we identify ourselves by all the things we don't have. And so I had to, go through that journey of, the dark night of the soul, as they call it, and figure out, who's Frankie? Who do I want to be? I have a chance to recreate. The Phoenix, is on fire. And who will I come out as? And just before the accident, I knew the universe had been talking to me. And I kept going, I know you want something, but I don't know what you want. Tell me, be more clear. And so, you get taken out. When you get taken out by the universe, you just have to listen. And I go, okay, now all these signs would pop up, and I go, okay, right road. And, somebody had come to me and says, you're going to be a life coach. I go, a life coach? What's that? We hadn't heard about coaches. They hadn't really been that prevalent yet. And I go, okay, I like that, because I don't like to do everything that everybody else is doing. Now everybody's doing it, but at the time, nobody was doing it. And I liked it. So I thought, okay, I can do that. And I took all of the courses I could. I went to all the accredited schools, and I took everything. And then I taught coaching, and I love coaching. I think I'm just a coach, a neat coach, that person that people meet you for 5 minutes and tell you their life story, right? So it's just there. But I'm not I don't want to be a coach for, I like to be a coach for the masses, but not an individual coach anymore. And I think that's what I love about the radio, why I started the radio. Again, I took a hiatus and I heard the universe speaking to me, said, you're going to start a radio network that is going to show people how to change the world. Because I saw myself as a change specialist. I love change. Change is something I'm really good at. And I used to reinvent myself every 2 years anyway. And I know that it scares a lot of people, but the Chinese have two characters for change: danger and opportunity. And both of those appeal to me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. I can start a radio network, and I can find people in the world who are changing the world and help them, support them, be, that person who lifts them up from underneath and showcases them to the other people who need to find them, basically. Yeah. Right. And so I created the Good Radio Network, radio that does the world of good. And I wanted it to go beyond talk radio into radio that actually did real good things. So money, we give out money, or I give relationships or help people in all kinds of ways, whatever way that they need it. I'm there to support them.
Right. So, all right. So let's back up a little bit, because that was a lot.
It was.
You sound a little bit like me, where I bite off more than I can chew, then I just chew like hell. And even though I don't know exactly, when I say yes to something, I don't know exactly how it's going to get done. I just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sound like you're a lot like that. But let's go back to the time of the accident. So how old were you when you had that motorcycle accident?
How old? I was 40. Yeah, 46.
46, right?
Yeah.
So you're 46 years old. You're in a hospital bed for 6.5 months. And did you say you lost your husband?
I went through divorce.
Yeah.
And
while you were still recovering.
I went through divorce, lost my job, lost my band. I was on the senior master dragon boat team. We're about 8 days from going to Shanghai. Lost that. And it was just a lot of loss. And when I got home, 3 days later, my dog died. Like loss. The only thing I still had, Natalie, were my kids. They were still there. Right.
So, all right. So walk me through this. How are you feeling at the time? Like what's the emotion? Like what are the thoughts that are going through your mind?
I knew I would be okay. And I just said, you have to get back on the, like my dad was always, you get back on the horse, you get back on the horse. So I'm going to get back on the horse, literally and figuratively. I got back on a bike as soon as I left the hospital. But I had to pull up my bootstraps, and I said, you have to reinvent. You have to become something. You're not going to sit in a hospital bed and vegetate. You're not going to feel sorry for yourself. You're going to do something, because you got kids at home who need you, and you need to support them.
Yeah.
And that's what's going in my head. And I'm fighting with lawyers. I'm fighting with insurance companies who, go, we don't want to pay you. Like, prove it that you're sick. I'm like, hello. Yeah. I've got 2 broken legs, hip and pelvis. Like, just.
So how do you go from, okay, well, I need to reinvent, and I kind of, there's a bit of urgency about it because I've got kids that are depending on me. How did you figure out what it was that you wanted to do from there?
Good question. As I said, I went through that dark night of the soul, and it was very interesting. Like, I had a nurse come to me one night and started to talk about Yogananda, and she goes, I'm going to see the Dalai Lama tonight. I go, great, good for you. I was just reading a book. And she says, I'm gonna mention you. I go, if you get his audience, how fantastic. So she came back in my room like about 1 a.m. She goes, I saw the Dalai Lama and he gave me this bracelet for you. I'm like, what? And so she gave me this bracelet, and it was like every time I wished on this bracelet, like things would come true. It was like a magic bracelet. It was crazy. But then I thought, oh, I have a question. And then I'd walk down the hall, and there's a Buddhist monk. What's this Buddhist monk doing in my rehab hospital? Right? Like, just all these different things. It was really cool how it all played out. But I thought, okay. And then I decided, the staff were so fantastic that I asked if I could put on a presentation for them and talk to them about, remind them what they're doing and why they're doing it, and how fantastic it is from my perspective, being a patient, at what they do. Because going from a trauma hospital where everything was no, to a rehab hospital that was, if it takes 10 people, we'll get you up. Don't worry, we're going to do it. It was all, we can do this. From my mental state, that was fantastic. Like, I hadn't experienced that for a long time. And so I needed them to remember why they got into that business and how important it was from all of the patients and how much gratitude I had for them. And so that was really powerful, because I thought, okay, I'm getting back up, I'm speaking again, I'm talking to a group of people. I'm, well, I was in a wheelchair, I think, but I was still, doing it. And that was powerful. And they came up and they were crying after, and they said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for, now I remember, the first day I came to work and how excited I was. That's, I think important to show people gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, whatever you've been doing since then has led into this radio show and the radio network. I mean, it's not just radio. Like, we're talking about really coming from a place of deep generosity and deep service. What gave you the idea for this?
Well, right. I always wanted to be on the radio. 9 years old, I sent away for the National Institute of Broadcasting records. And, I had a record player, my little mini record player would take with me, and I'd listen to this record, and I just wanted to be a journalist or, TV personality or radio personality. And then the dream got forgotten. You want to be a vet, you're a girl, you're a teenager, boys, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I was teaching coaching, and one of my students, I finished coaching him, finished teaching, and he contacted me. He says, Frankie, do you want to start a radio station with me? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Because 2 weeks prior, it was New Year's Eve, I wrote up my list. This year, I'm going to be a radio host. So not even 2 weeks later did I manifest a radio station. Well, his thing was very difficult, technologically, for the host to get into their computers, and he would have to go into their computers and hook them all up. They didn't get it. Call Blog Talk. I said, Blog Talk, I've got 20 hosts, that 20 coaches who want to be on air. Can you just hook them up and pick up the phone and you're on air? So it was very simple. But I loved it. Like, I fell in love with it. The second I did it, I ended up having like 7 different radio shows that year, from relationship, even The Bachelor, to a marketing one, to, my midlife mojo one for people in middle life and all that stuff. And I just took to it like, I don't know, fish to water. Go forward a few years. Like I said, I took a few years off. I got a little bored with it. Just talking to the same people. It's not the same people, but, just telling people stories and not really having a reason for it anymore. And so I took some time off and I meditated, and I got that download from the universe saying, okay, you're going to start something. I changed the world. You're going to find these people who are changing the world, even if they're one person. I want you to go out there and motivate people to change the world. 9/11 had happened already. CNN was just showing all this negative stuff over and over and over. And I got really tired of it. And I thought that it was putting too much negative airwaves out there, and people weren't recovering. And they needed to begin to focus on positive things. I thought you have to put positive stuff out there and encourage people to listen to it, because people all around me were going, what can I do to change the world? What can I do to change politics? What can I do? Nothing I can do. And I go, there's so much you can do. You just even thinking about doing it is doing something. Like, they didn't get it, and I needed them to get it. And so I needed a raison d'etre. And so I created The Good Radio, and I said, it's going to be talk radio that does a world of good. And it has to really do a world of good. It has to go beyond, just talking about doing good things. And, I believe in having a reputation. I believe that you do what you say you're going to do, that it's ethical and it's moral. And hopefully, I believe that's what I'm doing. And I don't know if you can see over here a little bit, but I've got some donkeys that we sponsor at the sanctuary, and just, just some stuff like that. So I've got donkeys, I've got animals, I've got dogs and lions and tigers and bears and monkeys and all the animals that don't have a voice. I have a voice for them. And all the children who need, I'm an artist, and so I paint, and through my painting, I pay for cleft palate surgery through Mercy Ships for children. I thought that's a really quick win. It's a quick fix. And in about 45 minutes, a child has their life back, a mother has their child back, they're part of society again, they're inclusive again, and that is money well worth spent.
Yeah. I know, it's such an incredible project. So if people wanted to connect with you, Frankie, either through the radio network, and I know that you've written several books, you're a best-selling author. I mean, you have such a world of knowledge and wisdom. How can people connect with you?
They can join me at thegoodradionetwork.com. They can write to me at Frankie@thegoodradionetwork.com, or Frankie Paints Pets, rogers.com, or just Coach Picasso at rogers.com. And they can go on Amazon, of course, and look for my books. There's 3 books on there. Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we post a link here for people to be able to go through to that. But I highly recommend that you check out the Good Radio Network, because it's just, it's amazing. And, you know, if you want to, we always talk about how do you get into a high vibration? How do you make yourself feel good? Well, just tap into this radio network. And I know that'll be a little injection into your day. So thank you, Frankie, for joining me, darling. It's been awesome talking to you.
Did I let you talk at all?
No, I know. I've got a couple of words in. It's okay. Oh, good. So, guys, look, I encourage you to click on the link, go through to Frankie's website and go through to the Good Radio Network. Make sure that once the show is over, click the link below the video so that you can take our 30-second quiz to figure out what's holding you back from success. And until next time, remember to live large, choose courageously, and love without limits. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Natalie.